Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Amanda Fest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. I have a very, very special guest for you guys today. This is a woman from my past life, Miss Karen McCullah. Karen has co-written movies such as Legally Blonde, starring Reese Witherspoon, 10 Things I Hate About You, starring Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger, Ella Enchanted, starring Anne Hathaway, She's the Man, starring Amanda Bynes and Channing Tatum, The House Bunny, starring Anna Faris, and The Ugly Truth, starring Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler. Before becoming a successful screenwriter and novelist, her careers included marketing and PR, painting furniture sold at galleries in New Mexico, travel writing, and teaching creative workshops to teen gang members. In her youth, she worked at such prestigious firms as McDonald's, Bob's Big Boy, and the Olive Garden. Her awards include Biggest Partier 1985 to 1987 in the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority. You guys know this is about to be an incredible episode, but as we've done with every episode, before we dive into this juicy conversation, we're going to take a second to ground down. So, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you feel safe and comfortable to do so, I invite you to just take a moment to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly just to help myself feel a little bit more connected and grounded in this moment. We're just going to take a couple breaths together to arrive in the here and now, breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. Really just tuning into our internal world. It's not so often we allow ourselves the opportunity to slow down and check in with our bodies. Just see how we're feeling. Notice what's coming up for us. Notice what thoughts are racing through our heads, where we're holding tension, just bringing awareness. And as we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, I want you to start thinking about an intention for this podcast episode. Something that you'd like to call in, you'd like to be filled up with, have more of. Imagine breathing that intention in through your nose and breathing out anything that is not in alignment with that intention out through your mouth. Really imagining breathing out stress, anxiety, worry. You don't need any of that here and now. We're going to do a few breaths like that, and then we're going to dive in through the nose, out through the mouth, and in through the nose, out through the mouth. I invite you to open up your eyes, shake out your body, arrive in the here and now. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for doing that with me. Thank you, Karen, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing? You look so beautiful.
Thank you. This is Sweet Pea. She'll be joining us.
Hi, Sweet Pea. For those of you guys who are just listening, Sweet Pea is Karen's adorable dog that is featured on screen a little bit. I always love to start off the podcast giving everybody a little bit of context of how we know each other, how we came into each other's worlds. Karen and I met when I was working in Hollywood in an entirely previous life.
Think you were, it was Glenn's birthday party.
Yeah.
And you had planned a whole little video montage of, you got all of his friends to make a little video saying things we hated about Glenn. And when I walked into the party, you told me that mine was the funniest. So I immediately liked you.
So Glenn is, for those who don't know, Glenn was a previous boss of mine. He's an actor, may have seen him in a couple of different things. I met you when I was his agent's assistant.
Yeah.
So that birthday party, I believe, was his 29th birthday party or 28th.
Yeah, probably.
So what was the thing that you said?
I think I said that I hated that he had seen John Stamos naked and I had not. So they had
So fun.
a shower scene together on Scream Queens, as I recall.
Yep. Definitely remember that. So Karen and I, throughout the years from when I started in Hollywood, Karen was just a figure in everybody's life as I started to integrate into Joey's world, who was my boss before Glenn. He was the agent that I worked for. And then I went on to work with him. Karen would throw these incredible parties all the time at her beautiful house. And her and I, from day one, immediately just clicked. I feel like there was something that you saw in me, something that I saw in you. And within the whole Hollywood hubbub, we were like, yes, sister, I see who you are.
Well, you're a joyful presence. I'm attracted to joy in people.
I appreciate that. So we reconnected a few weeks ago in New York City. We went to a jazz bar. We got to catching up, and I was like, I need to have you on the podcast because you are an inspiration. You have literally written my childhood. Like, I grew up on your films. I grew up watching Legally Blonde and 10 Things I Hate About You. And so to meet the legend that's done all these things, the podcast is all about inspiring and empowering people to take action towards their dreams. Reading your bio, you've had such a complex and interesting history. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your story.
Well, like I said, I went to JMU, which is kind of a big party school in the 80s. There's no film school department or anything. So I was in marketing and PR for a while. And then I just decided one day I wanted to be a screenwriter. And I just kept writing scripts until I sold one. But it was an idea that was planted in my head because at graduation, our speaker was an alumni who is currently a producer on Cheers, which is a very popular show back in the 80s and 90s. And I was like, wait a minute, that guy went here and he's working in Hollywood. So I like kind of filed that away in my brain for a while. And then I tried, working in marketing and PR, and I got my stockbroker's license, all that stuff. And none of it really clicked. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, that guy, I should do what he's doing. And then I just started doing that. It took 4.5 years before I sold one.
So you studied marketing at school. At what point in that career did you decide that you're going to do that swap?
I was probably about 24 when I decided to become a writer.
Really young.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was a lot of the influence from this man that kind of showed you what was possible?
Well, I've never even met him out here. I think we're Facebook friends, but he was just the speaker at my graduation. And so I was just like, well, if it's possible, if you did it, then I can do it. I was living in New Mexico at the time, and I found a retired TV writer who was giving like weekly workshops. And I read every single book on how to write a screenplay. And then I would just watch movies and time out the structure and like, okay, at the end of the first act, this happened, and just taught myself how to do it.
So you didn't do any formal training or anything like that?
No.
That's so cool.
So I moved here when I was 30 after 10 Things I Hate About You had sold. Hadn't been made yet though. And then our agent at the time got us a TV deal. So we were on a sitcom called Getting Personal for a year. I was living in Denver at that time and moved here. So that was like 97, I think. Yeah.
So you didn't move until was Legally Blonde before 10 Things?
I moved after I sold 10 Things. Yeah. Legally Blonde was the second movie.
Did you move on your own to LA?
No, I was married at the time. So I dragged him with me. I moved here by myself for the first like 8 months probably, but then I was like, I'm staying.
And what was your experience like when you got to Hollywood? Was it what you had imagined?
So much fun back then. Like everyone was always out at restaurants and clubs, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Were you partying like all the way through? I mean, you're still kind of a party girl at heart.
Yeah, it was just more people went out all the time, it seems. Now everyone, after the pandemic, everyone kind of like hibernates a little bit more, but it was very fun. Very fun time. It still is. I still live here. I still like it.
You've got such a beautiful spot and you love to host. You're such a connector. You're somebody in Hollywood that everybody knows. Has that always been your MO? Has that always been how you kind of operate?
Always been pretty sociable, yeah. And plus I did my scavenger hunt for many years where that was like a lot of people would come and form teams and play this crazy game.
Can you tell us about the scavenger hunt?
It was kind of crazy. It was like a list of 17 pages of things ranging from like G to triple X of things that you had to get pictures of you or someone on your team doing, or your entire team. And it's 5 hours. We start in a bar, we end at a bar, and count up the scenes. You have to like show the judges the pictures to prove you've done it. And it's a fucking blast. It was so much fun. We haven't done it in a while, but I used to do it every year. It's a lot of work.
I feel like you're always putting things together. So what are you most excited about right now that you're currently working on?
We'll have a movie coming out next year, Last Resort. That was really fun because I got to go to the Philippines for 7 weeks and be a mermaid and swim in the turquoise water and swim with whale sharks and all that good stuff. Drink coconuts every day. It was awesome. And then now I just finished my second novel, and I'm working on about 3 or 4 other projects, and there's an upcoming sequel to something, but the deal's not done, so I can't tell you yet.
So exciting. Was I feels like it happened pretty fast for you in terms of going from being like, I want to be a writer to it happening. Was there anything in the process where there was a time where you thought maybe I'm not going to do this? Or was it just like you made that decision and have just been
Yeah.
riding the wave ever since?
Yes. I always tell students when I teach, just never let it occur to you that it's not going to happen, and then it will happen. You have to manifest it every day and just be like, "Oh, I'm a screenwriter now." Like, "Oh, I have an agent. All it takes is the right script before it sells." Like, little steps along the way. But yeah, I was always pretty certain that it was going to happen. And then once it happened, like, we got 2 movies right away, and then She's the Man came shortly after Legally Blonde. It was like a lot of comedies were getting made back then.
Yeah.
Then after the demise of the DVDs and after the first strike, it was only superheroes for 10 years. So those were like
Right.
times. And so every time a setback in the industry, I feel like comedy kind of takes a hit, like all the time.
Yeah.
But back, I want to say like 15 years ago, on a summer weekend, there'd be 3 studio comedies opening every weekend. And now it's like we get 3 a year. It's a very different time. But yet I persevere. I keep writing. So yeah, I think it's coming back. Comedy's making a comeback for sure. Because we all need to fucking laugh right now. I mean, oh my God.
Anytime I go to Netflix and I'm just like wanting to watch something, your genre is my go-to genre. There was definitely a time where it was much easier and there was a lot that was out, and now it's few and far between. But that's why we have people like you who keep pumping them out.
I'm trying. Yeah.
So you said that you teach?
I've taught at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, and I've taught
Mhm.
for Syracuse. They have like an LA semester. I taught there for a year too.
What are you teaching? There's like just screenwriting or?
Mhm. Yeah. When I teach at SCAD, it's in the south of France. They have a campus in Lacoste, and they put me in this little villa. It's amazing. It's like a paid vacation. I love it.
When we were talking about different people reaching their dreams, part of it is mindset, which you've touched on a little bit, of having this mentality that
Yeah.
failure is not an option.
Right.
And then part of it is practicality of the logistics of you needing to learn how to screenwrite and networking and figuring out the industry and getting an agent. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about both sides of the scale of those things for you.
My first agent I got through the retired TV writer in Santa Fe, whose workshop I went to. But I was way too green to have an agent back then, actually. But the fact that I did have one made me think, oh, it's just a matter of time until I
Right.
write something super commercial. So that kept me going. But getting an agent is the hardest part. As you know, you worked at an agency. It's hard to get people to read stuff. I mean, you usually have to start with the assistants. I'm sure you had to read a lot of stuff that everyone wanted you to give to Joey or someone else. So,
Right.
but it's important to get it out there for sure. Yeah. But I feel like now it's so much easier. Like when I would teach, I'm like, you guys have access to every single screenplay ever written on the internet. Like when I, like maybe there was 5 published screenplays at the local bookstore that you could get, and they were like old classics. They weren't like, the ones that I wanted to write at that time. So it was really, really hard to find an actual copy of a script. But there was a couple bookstores here in LA. I would come out and visit, and I would just buy as many as I could carry, and take those home and kind of memorize the structure. But yeah, it's a lot easier now, I think, in terms of just having all the information right there.
Was there a particular moment in your career where you just kind of looked around and you were like, "Oh, I like this is like my pinch me, I made it moment"?
Yeah, I think the first day on set of 10 Things I Hate About You, there's like 150 people scurrying around. There's a giant crane set up for a crane shot. And I was just like, oh my God. I looked at Kirsten, who I wrote it with, and I was like, our twisted imagination created all of this. This is so crazy. So yeah, those are always very fun moments.
So wild. So for people who aren't in the industry at all, how involved is the writer from, inception of idea all the way to premiere? Can you share a little bit about what that process is?
No, it all depends really on the director and the location. Because for 10 Things I Hate About You, Kirsten and I were working on a TV show in LA, and that shot up in Seattle. So we were only able to go for like 3 or 4 days on that one, which was
Yeah.
a bummer. But Legally Blonde shot here in LA, and I was there every single day. Same with House Bunny, that shot here. The Ugly Truth shot here. I mean, a lot of movies used to shoot here is nice. You could make a movie and sleep in your own bed and cuddle your dog at night. I'm glad it's coming back that way because a lot of it moved to like cheaper tax break states that,
Right.
so you were stuck in like Bumbuck, Louisiana forever making a movie and everyone's miserable. Like it's much nicer to make a movie here.
Yeah, we did one in New Orleans. That was fun.
Yeah, that's right. You know that well. But I mean, the Philippines was fun because it was an adventure, but
Right.
I wouldn't want to make all of my movies in a remote part of the world.
Did you know, like, for instance, with Legally Blonde, while you guys were making it, while you guys were shooting it, did you have any idea that it was going to stand the test of time the way that it has?
We made it
Or
completely under the radar. Like we had no idea it was gonna like be in the zeitgeist.
or like 10 Things I Hate About You. I think I watch every single time I'm on a plane. Like,
Yeah, it's got it right there as soon as you turn on because it starts with a number. So I'm gonna name all my movies with numbers now, so people on planes watch it more often.
it's so brilliant.
Yeah, no, we had no idea on either of those. It's very so many girls have gone to law school because of Legally Blonde. It blows my mind.
Do you get fan letters through your agents?
Some sort like through email or social media, people will find me. But there was actually, I got a fan letter from a guy who said there was a line in Legally Blonde that saved his life. Like he was feeling very down and, uh, you know, he said, I don't think I would have done anything, but I don't know that I wouldn't have done anything to self-harm.
Right.
And he said, and my friend called and asked me to go dancing. And I said, no, I just wanted to stay home. And then all of a sudden, the line from Legally Blonde, like, endorphins make you happy, popped into his head. And he called his friend back and went dancing and got some endorphins and then was fine after that. And he was just like, it's such a random line that I don't know why it just popped in my head right then. That had nothing to do with my situation at the time, but it was a cure I needed. I'm like crying as I'm reading this email. I'm like sending it to the director and to Kirsten. We were just like, holy shit. But yeah, so every now and then you get really, and then I got one fan letter from a woman who had just bought a new ski jacket. And then when she was skiing, she fell and got a bloody nose. And she was like, oh, it's going to get all over my like baby blue ski jacket. And she had a tampon in her pocket. And she remembered the scene from She's the Man of stopping a nosebleed with a tampon. So she skied down the mountain with the tampon up her nose and wrote me a letter to thank me for that. So
That's so crazy and cool. Like, how cool is it to get to wake up every day and do what you love? Just hearing the way that you talk about it, I don't think I've ever heard a story of somebody who just was like, oh, somebody showed me it was possible. I was like, I'm going to do that. And then you're like, I just did it.
that's the mindset that it takes to break into a business that's very competitive or a field that you have no training in whatsoever. Like whenever I do a panel at like one of the big screenwriting conferences and people are like, where'd you go to film school? And I'm like, I went to a party school in Virginia. Everyone's like, what? But it's like, I wasn't even an English major. I just decided I was going to fucking do this.
Did you ever have any imposter syndrome or you just went in with full confidence of like, I could do anything?
I went in with full confidence.
This is what I'm talking about. You guys, anybody that's listening to this doesn't have to be screenwriting. It's delusion.
Yeah.
Pure delusion. Pure delusion. No, that's amazing. Like that's so. Well, were you always like that? Like if we were going to talk to your mom and be like, "What was Karen like as a kid?"
Yeah.
Were you always the type of person that was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do that. No question in my mind. Just execute."
Yeah, I would invent my own games and stuff when I was a kid, and I would always just assume that everyone else wanted to do the game that I just invented, recruit everyone to do it. Like, okay, here's what we're that. Like, I was just, yeah, I kind of had a road that I like to follow in my mind. Just hope everyone else jumps on.
I mean, listen, everybody did. I mean, what you've created is so special. Do you have anything right now that you're like, all right, in the next X amount of time, I'm working towards this, or is it just to continue riding the high and doing what you love?
Well, definitely want to keep, writing movies and novels, but I want to, this novel I just finished, I would love to see that turn into a movie and maybe direct that one. I don't know. Directing's a very busy job. You actually have to be like on set for a month earlier and a month after everybody else and post and all that 2 months after. So it's a bigger time commitment, but I think it would be really fun to try it at least once and like have everything go exactly as it is in my head. So yeah.
And you've never directed before.
Mm-mm. It'll be a new side hustle.
I love you. That's really amazing. I can't be the only one that's blown away by that. I'm sure people meet you all the time and they're just like Just like the pure confidence of it as well is just it's true. It's like that's what you need.
I
I
mean,
mean,
when
and
you've been on I've made like 9 movies now, so I've been on a set
yeah.
enough time to be like, "Oh,
Right.
I can get."
No, but I just mean like becoming a writer and creating what you've done. It's like obviously you need talent. I mean, you just are clearly naturally very talented at what you do.
Thank
And the business acumen as well, is that something that you've just been able to kind of pick up and figure out along the way? Or did you have any mentors that supported you?
Yeah, I still have
Success?
my manager, Seth Jarrett, I have had since the beginning, like before we sold anything. And then I had the same agent, Lee Cohen, for I think almost 17 years until he retired. And he was like, our second father. Like he's the greatest. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But he was such a great agent. And I mean, I talked to him every day and like some
Yeah.
5 times a day if there was something going on in negotiation or other writers would be like, wait, you talk to your agent every day? Like that was so unheard of at the time. So then when he retired and I had new agents, I was just like, I can't even get this person on the phone. This is so weird. And everyone was like, yeah, that's the way it normally is. It blew my mind. So I was very lucky that I had some
You had someone
guiding factors. Yeah.
and they just like believed in you, saw your magic and were like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
fucking take it to the moon.
Yeah. Lee Cohen, he liked the dialogue so much in the 10 Things script that he immediately was like, we got to get you girls a sitcom deal. He got us an overall deal at 20th Television. And he was like our biggest cheerleader. He would just go up and down the hallways at studios and knock on the door and be like, what do you got for the girls?
You have a writing partner. Can you tell us a bit about your
Yeah.
writing
We
partner?
don't write everything together. We wrote several movies together, but now we both usually work alone. But now we're reteaming for a project that's upcoming right now. So
Okay.
we've never like
When
officially like stopped writing together. We've just had other side projects that we've
right.
so yeah.
When did you connect with your writing partner and how did that relationship come about?
She was like a D girl at an indie production company that read one of my scripts and wrote me to tell me she liked it. And so we met for drinks when I came out to LA. And then we decided to write a script on cocktail napkins that night, starting with our little characters and just went from there.
What
So
was the first film that you guys did together?
it was like getting an action movie, believe it or not. It was very kind of
Oh,
twisted.
is that is
So
it did it
no,
ever see the light of day?
no. And then after that, we're like, what? We should write a teen comedy. We love teen comedies. And like Clueless had just come out. We're like, let's adapt like a classic into a contemporary setting, just like that one did. That was a genius
Yeah.
idea Amy Heckerling had. And then that script was 10 Things I Hate About You. So yeah.
I kind of want to loop back. We were talking about this a little bit over drinks a few weeks ago about just like what Hollywood was versus what it shifted into. The industry, I feel like it shifted a little bit post pandemic, but when we were in it, when you were in it in the heyday, it's very much work, play, intermingling, lots of parties, lots of drinks, lots of dinners, lots of events, lots of like networking. Cause once you're in, now you're rubbing shoulders with actors and hanging out with these people that, it becomes less of pitching yourself and more of people being like, oh, I know Karen. I like Karen. I love her stuff. Let's get Karen on this. And it becomes more of this relational type of thing. I'd love to hear about your journey in the social world of Hollywood and, hosting the parties that you've done and the scavenger hunts and all these things and how you feel like that's kind of played into your career, getting you to where you are now.
Yeah, there was actually a rewrite I did. It wasn't a rewrite, actually. It's a script based on the director's idea that I wrote for Netflix. And when my agent called to inquire about it, he called me back and he said, the producer says she's played in your scavenger hunt. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I got this job. Like, I knew it right then. And she was a good player, as I recall. But no, like it used to be, yeah, you'd go to every premiere that was out there, and it was like just Oscar parties and Golden Globe parties and Emmy parties. It was just a much more sociable time back then. So it was easy
Yeah.
connections. Um, but yeah, I think that's an important part of work. And whenever I can have a meeting with execs on a project I'm working on, I always prefer to do it in person because
Mm,
Zoom meetings, I feel like everyone's just can't wait until they're off the Zoom. Like you're not
yeah.
bonding. And I think, especially in the early stages of a project, because writers get rewritten all the time. So if you want to stay on the project, the bigger bond you have with the execs and the more they know how invested you are emotionally in it and the characters, and it's easier to for them to be like, oh, let's give her another draft. Let's not hire someone. You know what I mean? It builds more
Yeah.
of a relationship. So I always prefer in-person stuff. I mean, it's a lot easier to pitch over Zoom because I can just put my pitch here and look at the thing and read it. But
Yeah.
it's not as good. It's not as good.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like the relationship building is like, I mean, that was my favorite part of working in Hollywood was getting to connect with people like you and meeting different people in different departments and industries and just really building those bonds. I was watching Sex and the City recently. I was like
Mhm.
rewatching old episodes, and there was an episode where the girls go to LA. They were thinking of adapting Carrie's book into a movie. Have you
Right.
seen this episode?
Probably.
Sex and the City is all about glamorizing New York City, but I'm like, ooh, they did an LA episode. And I'm like, the way they depicted LA, and it was many, many years ago, of course, I was just like, man, it would have been so cool to be in Hollywood in that time where paparazzi was out and about. And when I was there was a little bit of that. And then post pandemic, I haven't been in LA anymore, but I feel like it shifted a bit. But I'd love to hear about what that experience was being there at that time. And like you were saying, going to all these parties and meeting all these people of like what that vibe really was like at that time.
I think before iPhones, it was just paparazzi, and they were usually outside. They weren't in the bars. So
Yeah.
you would see a lot more celebrities in bars and restaurants. Like you'd go to the Sky Bar on Sunset and be like, "Oh, there's George Clooney, there's Ben Stiller." It was just everyone was out all the time.
Yeah.
And but then after iPhones, people started staying home more because people are like sneaking photos of you in the bars, and it just got kind of creepy, I guess. Um, so yeah, it just kind of dimmed down a little bit, but premieres were still fun. You could always like, I would just pick movies of celebrities that I liked and go to their premieres so I could meet them. It was just fun.
Were you able to go to them because would you like do it through your agents?
Yeah, my agent would call. Yeah,
So
it was fun, and I've always had like a really good eye for talent.
yeah.
Kind of a frustrated casting director as well as a screenwriter. But I do remember walking up to Bradley Cooper it was a Golden Globe party. Legally Blonde was nominated, so it must have been 2002. And he was on that show Alias with Jen Garner, kind of playing like her lovelorn nerdy friend. And I remember watching Alias and being like, that guy's super hot, and he's a really good actor. He's going to be a huge star. And so I walked up and told him that at a Golden Globes party, and he was, still pretty new. It was his first TV show or whatever. And he was like, "Oh my God, thank you." But I'm like, I was right. I was right. Like, and I was right about Channing Tatum. I was right about Chris Pratt. I was right about Glenn Powell. That's the first thing I said to him when I met him.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, didn't you have a similar experience with Glenn with the Expendables premiere?
Expendables 3. I said, "Hi, I just want to let you know you're going to be a huge movie star." And he was like, "Can you go tell my agent, my mom that?" And then that's how I met the whole Powell family. But so that was always kind of a fun component of like back when everybody was more social, because you would meet people and, remember, oh, that guy was really funny. He'd be good to put on this casting list. And
Right. Right. Yeah, that was something that I definitely picked up a lot from working with Glenn is, you had your scavenger hunt, which you must have stopped doing them by the time I came around because I don't
okay.
remember that.
Yeah. The last one was like 8 years ago.
When I was working with Glenn, he threw the ranch parties.
Yeah.
And that was a way that we were able to hang out with people socially. His family had this big ranch in Texas. We'd invite tons of people out. Karen was there. I was there. We were all there. And it was like such a fun time to get away from Hollywood, to get to play games. We did field day activities and played, old college drinking games.
Yeah.
I look back on that chapter of life and I'm like, man, that was fun. Like we knew how to have fun. But it was the same thing where it was like, there would be writers there would be directors there would be actors there. And then it would be a situation where, a few months down the line, there's a project available or this or that. And it's like, oh, of course I want to work with my friend. Of course I want Karen on that project.
Well, that's how I met Nina at that party. And then that Netflix one I was just talking about, that was, Nina was attached to star in that. So yeah. It was a lot more. When you're social, the networking is just easy. It's a good fit.
Yeah. I feel like this applies to all industries. I talk about this a lot. So the work that I've shifted into since my time in Hollywood, I don't know if I've told you much, is, I'm a lot more into intentionality around socialization. And I've always had a hard time with the word networking. It's always irked me and bothered me so much because I'm like, I don't want to just be friends with you because I need something from you and have it feel really transactional. I want to build a genuine relationship with you and then want to work with you because you're my friend.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I worked with Joey, this was the agent that I worked with. This was Glenn's agent. When I first started in Hollywood, we did what was called rolling calls. So he would be on the phone and like, calling all these people. And I remember all day he would be like, okay, Amanda, get me Karen on the line. And then he would like cover the mic and he'd be like, Karen's my friend. And then he'd be like, get me so-and-so. And he's like, they're my friend. Or he'd be like, oh my God, like that's my bestie. And he said it for like everyone. And I used to just be like, what are you talking about? Like, and it took me until, very shortly after that, I got adopted into his world. I became a part of the social group. I became friends with Joey. That's why I became friends with Glenn. I got the job with Glenn because we were friends. Like, like it was like very easy to transition into a professional role because there was already an established relationship. There was trust. There was good communication. And I feel like Hollywood's a great example of it, but this totally applies everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I used to tell my students too that like when you are making a movie, you're stuck with that group of people, like the director and the producers and everybody for the development of the script and then the duration of the shoot. So people want to pick people that they think are like going to be easy to be around. So like say there's a rewrite job and they, the producers are like, oh, I like these two writers exactly the same amount in their movies, but maybe they know me and they think I'm fun. They'll be like, oh yeah, let's get Karen because she'll be a good time on this. Where it's like, if I was like, some kind of hermit that never talked to anybody, I wouldn't be as much fun to have her out for that 6 months. So.
Or like we'd love to have Karen in the Philippines. She'd be a fun hang after we wrap. We'd love to hang out with her. And she's super talented. And like, it's like you have to be good at what you do, a good person, and fun to be around.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that Glenn and I used to say all the time, he was like, there's too many talented people out there to work with talented assholes.
Yes, exactly.
So pick the talented people that are good hangs.
Yeah, exactly.
This is so full circle and so special to have you on because I felt like even from the very, very beginning, when I was an assistant to an agent, then I went on to work with Glenn, at the different stages of working in the industry. And for context, everybody, I started working in Hollywood, not as long as Karen did, but I was pre-Harvey Weinstein, pre-Me Too. When I started at ICM, I was making $11.50 an hour working 18-hour days. I mean, it was nuts. People treated you differently based off of where you were at in the hierarchy of like who you were, who you worked with, and like what you did. And from the very beginning, when I came in at the very bottom of the barrel and I was an agent's assistant and you were a successful, talented writer, from day one, you, of everyone that I met, always treated me with respect, always treated me like an equal, always saw me as a person I am. So I just want to reflect that to you as a human, because that says so much about your character. Because I noticed a big difference in the way people treated me when I worked for Joey versus when I went to work for Glenn. Big difference.
Ah, interesting. Well, you're a cool girl. Like I said, I'm attracted to joyful people. I want them to be in my friend zone. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really special sharing the example and then extracting the wisdom out of it. Treat everybody well.
Yeah.
Treat everybody kindly.
I have a project at TriStar now, and the head of the studio was an intern for the producer on Legally Blonde. So she's now running the studio. She's now my boss on this project I have with her now. And I love that I've known her since like her entree into this thing. But yeah, some days the intern is now the president. So
yeah. And we never forget too. Like I know tons of people, I have some people in mind that are extremely, extremely successful that treated me very, very poorly. And like you remember, like no matter what, like you remember how people treat you in the different stages. And again, it goes back to that networking conversation. It goes back to like, am I only friends with you because of what you've done or because what you can do for me? Or are we building a genuine connection that now I want to be in your world and work with you because of that genuine connection, right?
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to tell who I don't know what the right word is, like the fake people, I guess.
Yeah.
I always tell when someone's fake, but I was just having a conversation today. A friend was telling me that his project went to this person, and I was like, oh, I have some stories about that person. So, but yeah, you definitely, yeah, you like to steer people clear of landmines.
Going from working at an agency to then working with Glenn and working with the agency on the other side of things and
Yeah.
seeing how the assistants were not being treated poorly the same way that we were. They were getting paid much better. They had
Uh,
much stricter hours of like when they had to go home.
uh,
And then I also think this whole new generation, and now I sound like a boomer, but like they didn't get it. They didn't have it as hard as we did. But it's true. I truly feel like I was the last generation of abused Hollywood assistants.
yeah, I know there was a lot of odd stories that came out around that time. But, I was never harassed here. I guess maybe because
Yeah.
I entered as like a writer and wasn't working up at an agency. But when I worked in Washington, D.C., right out of college, oh my God, it was fucking relentless. It was terrible.
Really?
Terrible. Yeah. When I tell people the stories, they're like, what? I actually picked up a book and chucked it at my boss's head for saying something untoward to me. And I just like threw it at his head and walked out. And just,
Never look back.
I came back on Monday because I had already quit 3 jobs because I had creepy bosses. And a headhunter said, you have to stay someplace at least 6 months. And I'm like, even if they say that to me, like, that's crazy. Yeah. So
Well, that's great
it's
that you
actually
didn't.
better here than it was in DC.
I was like, that's great that you never experienced that in Hollywood. I also feel like there's something about, and I feel like this is a part of why you and I really clicked, is like, I think Hollywood needs strong, badass women like you, like me, that are able to walk into a room full of men and be like, yeah, I fucking belong here.
It's true. Yeah, definitely.
And like, no question, there's no doubts, there's no insecurity. It's just like,
Yeah.
what's up?
Yeah. It's true.
That's so,
You got that
it's,
vibe. See, that's why we clicked.
that's why we clicked. Hearing more of your story is so inspiring. And I hope that anybody that's listening is able to take away. I think the big takeaway from you, Miss Karen, is just believe in yourself, to just have zero doubts. Literally,
Yeah.
just believe in yourself, which sounds so cheesy, but it's like, yeah, and just it's the energy of course it's all gonna work out. Of course it's gonna be successful. There's no not working out. There's no backup plan.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people get frightened off by everyone telling them how hard it is to break into the industry or how hard it is to get something made. And I was like living in New Mexico and Denver when I started writing. So I was kind of in my own little bubble where I wasn't surrounded by people that had, 10 scripts in the trunk of their car and just trying to get everyone to read it. But you can kind of get in like little landmines in your head if you let yourself. So here's an example I always tell my students. When I was whitewater rafting, the guide said, okay, there's a big set of rapids up there. It's called Sidel Suckhole. We all have to pull over here and climb to the top of this hill and see if we want to go down. Otherwise, we're just going to carry the raft around. So everyone gets out of the raft except for me. And he goes, you don't want to see? And I said, well, no, because if I look at it and it's scary, I'm going to be scared. But if I don't see it, I can't be scared of it. And he was like, okay, crazy girl. So they all go up, they all come back down, and they're like, it's pretty scary, but let's try it. Let's try it. So we go down the next set of rapids, and they're super fun. And then I'm waiting. I'm like, oh my God, the big suck hole must be up there. And I asked the guy, I'm like, so where's the suck hole? How far? And he goes, we just went through it. I'm like, oh my God, that was so much fun. And if I had like psyched myself out, I would have been scared
Yeah.
during that. So that kind of became my mantra for a while. Like, don't look at suck holes. So it's like, if you just
I love
you
that.
don't let yourself know how scary something is, you won't be scared of it.
Delusion.
Yeah. Delusion. I built my career on delusion. That is very true.
Delulu is a Salulu, but it's so true. It's so true. People love to psych others out. They love to tell you what is possible. They love to set limits. They love to say, this is so hard. Don't even try.
Yeah.
My philosophy is, failure isn't an option. And the only people that fail are the ones that give up. Because if you keep going, eventually it's going to work. I know we talked a little bit about upcoming projects. We're going to tag at the bottom of this episode your socials, ways that people can reach you. If anybody has been moved buy your movies and has cool stories to share with you where they can share them. And then anything upcoming that you'd love to plug, I'd love to give you the space to share that.
All right. Well, The Last Resort will be out next year. I'm not sure where or when. It's still in post-production. And I'm on Instagram. You can find me there. I think it's just my name. And then hopefully my next book will be out next year, and that's called Permission.
Amazing. Karen, this has been so much fun. I am so inspired by you. I hope that everybody listening got to take some nuggets of wisdom and y'all go out, achieve your dreams, be delusional,
Yeah.
and you just
Please.
might do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys haven't already done so, please like, subscribe, comment, reach out to Karen, reach out to me. Let me know if you like this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.